Who's been stealing Marsh's snacks? The Doggo Detectives were having one of their usual lazy days in the office. Maverick was sprawled out on the floor, trying to nap, while Alpine was cleaning her paws, and Zoey was watching the bustling city outside through the window. The peace was suddenly interrupted when the door swung open and a small, fluffy white Pomeranian trotted in, his eyes wide with urgency. "Who are you?" Alpine asked, lifting her head, her ears twitching with curiosity. "I'm Marshmallow, but everyone calls me Marsh. I need your help. Someone's been stealing the food from my human's restaurant, and now we're all out of our famous hot dogs. Everyone wants them, but we don't have enough food for either the dogs or the humans anymore." Zoey stood up immediately, her tail raised in concern. "That sounds terrible. Who would steal from a restaurant, especially when there's so much at stake?" "Exactly," Marsh barked. "My humans worked so hard to get everything perfect for their customers, but now there's no food left to serve, and we're at risk of losing everything. I don't know who's behind this, but it's been happening every night for the past week. Could you help us figure out who's doing this before it ruins everything?" Alpine stepped forward. "Of course we can help. Let's go check out the restaurant and see what's going on." The Doggo Detectives followed Marshmallow down the street to the cozy little restaurant his humans owned. The warm scent of hot dogs and fresh food filled the air as they approached the door. The restaurant was empty, with only a few customers who were still enjoying their meals, but there was something off. The refrigerator was barely stocked, and the prep area looked oddly quiet. "This is where the food's usually kept, right?" Zoey asked, sniffing the air. "I don't smell anything fresh." Marsh nodded, sadly. "Exactly. The fridge was full last night, but now it's almost empty. My humans are so upset, and we have no idea who's been stealing the food. I don't even know where they took it." Maverick sniffed around, noticing something. "Hey, there's a faint trail of crumbs leading from the back door." "The back door?" Alpine asked, frowning. "Isn't that where deliveries come in?" "Yes, we've been getting deliveries of fresh ingredients every day, but every time the food goes missing, it's always after dark, and it's always from the back storage area." The Doggo Detectives went around the back of the restaurant, where they found a large storage room filled with bags of ingredients and trays of fresh food. But there, scattered on the floor, were more crumbs and even half-eaten food. "This is weird," Zoey said, stepping over the mess. "Someone has definitely been here recently." "Look here," Bandit said, pointing to a corner of the room. "There are paw prints in the flour, but they aren't the paw prints of any dog I recognize." Maverick leaned in to examine the prints. These aren't typical. They're smaller, almost like a fox's paws." "Fox? You think a fox is stealing food?" Alpine asked, raising an eyebrow. "I don't know, but these prints don't look like they belong to any of us. We need to follow them." The team followed the trail of crumbs and paw prints around the back of the building and across the alley. The prints led them to a small, hidden gap between two fences, just barely wide enough for a dog, or something smaller, to slip through. "Looks like this is where the trail ends," Zoey said, inspecting the gap. "But there's no way a dog would squeeze through here. What if it's something else?" "Let's see," Alpine said, sniffing around the gap. "It doesn't smell like a dog, but there is a strong smell of meat and cheese. Someone, or something, definitely likes those hot dogs." Suddenly, they heard a rustling sound coming from the other side of the gap. Bandit quickly stepped forward, his eyes alert. "Did you hear that?" Before anyone could answer, a small, scruffy-looking creature popped its head out from behind the fence. It was a rat, its paws covered in crumbs, and it was holding a piece of hot dog in its mouth. "Aha!" Alpine barked. "Caught you!" The rat froze, its eyes wide as it saw the dog standing there. "Uh-oh!" the rat muttered nervously, dropping the hot dog. "I didn't mean to steal it. I was just so hungry and I couldn't resist. The hot dogs here are too good." "Wait a minute," Zoey said, narrowing her eyes. "You've been stealing food from the restaurant every night?" The rat nodded sheepishly. "Yeah, I've been sneaking in and grabbing leftovers. I didn't think anyone would notice. I just love those hot dogs, and I couldn't help myself. But I didn't want to ruin the restaurant. I was just hungry." Maverick stepped forward. "So, you've been taking the food without anyone knowing? You didn't think about what it would do to the restaurant?" The rat hung his head. "No, I didn't think it through. I'm really sorry. I didn't want to cause trouble. I just wanted to eat." Marshmallow stepped forward, his tail drooping. "I understand, but you've caused a lot of trouble for my humans and their restaurant. They've been working so hard, and now we're running out of food for the customers. What are we going to do?" The rat looked down at Marshmallow. "I can help. I'll go back to my den and bring back some food to replace what I took, and I'll stop stealing for good, I promise." Zoey smiled. "That sounds like a fair deal, but you need to be honest with Marsh and apologize." The rat nodded. "I will. I'll make it right." The rat returned some of the food it had taken, and Marsh was surprised but relieved to hear the rat's apology. With the situation resolved, Marshmallow's restaurant was back in business, and the hot dogs were back on the menu. As the Doggo Detectives made their way back to their office, Marshmallow looked at them with gratitude. "Thank you for solving the case. My humans are so happy now." "All in a day's work," Alpine said, smiling. "Just remember, no one can steal from a restaurant and get away with it." Zoey wagged her tail. "And now we all know who the true hot dog fanatic is." The end.